Here's a quick thought experiment. If AOC was fat and in her 60s, would anyone listen to another thing she ever said?
Oh boy, you're going to step in that one. What exactly do you mean by that? Do you mean, is it because she's young what?
Yes, she's young, she's vibrant, she's beautiful, and everyone's always putting a camera and a mic in her face. But her opinions are idiotic 95% of the time. And I don't think if she was a middle-aged, heavy-set woman, anyone would care what she had to say.
I'm not so sure I agree.
There's Sean Hannity speaking with Adam Carolla, another comedian there, talking about AOC. Now, the basis for this conversation was a response that AOC had to the suspension of Whoopi Goldberg after she made those comments on The View that was minimizing the real causes and pushes of what Hitler and those guys are doing with the Holocaust, which got her suspension, and she also apologized for. So really fast, this is what AOC did say that got them on this point. I think we should take the Jewish community's lead on this. See that her apology is authentic and move on. So many people were upset about the moving on comments from many folks that maybe were in support of Whoopi Goldberg. But let's finish this conversation that Carolla and Hannity were having about AOC.
I'm not so sure I agree. Now, I will say this: you can criticize her ideas, and I do. I think the Green New Deal is madness and insanity, but she's got the whole Democratic Party following her. In my opinion, she's way more powerful than Speaker Pelosi. And if she and the squad decide Speaker Pelosi's out, I think she could probably be Speaker. If she challenges Chuck Schumer in New York, I think she has a good shot of beating him. Maybe I'm wrong.
I agree with you. I'm just saying if she was fat and old, I don't think TMZ would be chasing her around with a camera.
I didn't think we're allowed to say the word fat anymore. Is that shaming, body shaming, et cetera, et cetera? What do you call that?
Zoftic.
If you guys didn't notice that, Sean Hannity does not want to participate in this part of the conversation because he understands where this is going. And this comedian, Adam Carolla, thinks maybe it's funny, maybe thinks that there's a point of, hey, I can say these things based off of not much of anything, because there's a camera in the middle, a couple of middle-aged men's faces that aren't very good looking, and I don't know, they're not very overweight, but there's a camera in their face all the time. It's weird how that works when you're known and then there's a camera in your face. Now, by the way, there might be another reason a camera might be in AOC's face all the time is because she's saying things that many Americans are saying but never get actually listened to by their elected officials. Let's look at this CBS poll about why people may be paying attention to AOC. 88% of Americans support federal funding for lowering prescription drug prices. 84% support federal funding for Medicare coverage for dental, eye, and hearing. 73% support federal funding for paid family and medical leave, and 67% support federal funding for universal pre-K. Things that AOC is always voicing and fighting for in the face of people like Joe Manchin that say none of those things are wanted by people in West Virginia. So screw everyone else. Have they convinced you yet of this? I mean, she gained some weight and suddenly all those policies people care about, they just won't care about them anymore.
Yeah, no, that totally goes away. Look, here's what I will say. I think it is very funny that Adam Carolla, a comic, someone who's been like just the most like conservative boomer dude who's aged out of being at all relevant so long ago, is actually saying what conservatives on Fox never say, which is that she wouldn't be less popular with the left, but she would be less popular with the right if she weren't so beautiful and attractive. And I would add, insanely articulate and compelling when she speaks on those incredibly popular points. But they have their anchors constantly sleeveless and in short skirts, and they're like, this is femininity and womanhood, as if they would ever put any woman who is like an average size and like average good looks on their own Fox. They know better than anyone. And the right is obsessed with AOC because she's attractive. And I love that Sean Hannity can't even say that she's a woman. He can't even say, because he will like swallow his tongue if he admits that she's good looking. And so then he has to go to like, he actually kind of gives her all these props. Like, I think if she's actually, would win against Schumer, and I don't know, and suddenly we're like evaluating her for like her accolades as if you haven't been tearing her down over some BS for forever. Like,
that's
it's actually really funny.
Yeah, I think that is the plan. Now, once you've made enough of a boogeyman out of someone, as they did with Dr. Fauci, as they've done with many other people, then every time they mention them, no matter if they say something like this, like she's taking over the party, that's not a positive thing. Right. Because we've already established that she's this horrible person who's trying to destroy the country and kill everyone else that disagrees with her. So then if you bring her up and say she's taking over the Democratic Party, that means the Democratic Party is now, we can solidify this weird talking point that they're trying to take over the country and destroy your lives by wanting elections to be fair and not be overtaken by a president, a former president, who's continued to push this consistent lie. So it doesn't matter what the conversation is. If you say AOC now, then anything about it is a negative. So you can say, oh, she's taking it over, but they still like it that way.
Yeah, I mean, look, all you gotta know about whether like good looks gets you clicks and ratings is Tucker Carlson, is Sean Hannity. Your asses are everywhere all the time. We talk about you guys constantly. Don't get me started on Marjorie Taylor Greene. This is not a beauty contest, but you guys, in lieu, the ugliness of your hearts shows on your face. And instead of cleaning up your act, you just say the most craziest, outlandish things, and then people pay attention. So guess it works a little differently, bud.
Yeah, I'll end with this. Let's not forget. Conservatives, Republican voters, whoever it was that was in the apparatus during the 2008 election propped up a Sarah Palin to be the vice presidential candidate, the running mate for John McCain for the Republican Party. And trust me, don't trust me, listen to what they said about her. People that supported her. They tried to push this whole thing that she has some kind of a thought process or an agenda or policy. No, they liked how she looked.
Yeah.
Mike Ditka specifically, I remember the former head coach and former football player, Mike Ditka was all about what she looked like. She's amazing, hot. That was the basis for it. And by the way, it was the reasons why there's the old the way politics changed once debates happened with JFK, how he looked so much better. These are guys in the 60s talking about how much better once people saw what JFK looked like.
Yep.
And he was so much better looking. Suddenly he's smarter, he's better, he's quicker, he's more presidential. That's how things work with humans. We gravitate towards the better looking ones. It's just there should probably be some substance behind them because now we're trying to figure out what they're gonna do for us. This is politics now.